Hi, I'm Jamie and welcome back to my channel, Jamie Sage Knits. Today I'll be sharing my spring 2025 knitting plans. I'm super excited to give a little sneak peek of what I'll be working on the next few months and also share some inspiration, so patterns that I probably won't have a chance to actually work on myself, but that I think are really beautiful and would love to just share for some springtime inspiration. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe to follow along with my upcoming podcast where I'm actually working on these projects, and let me know down below in the comments what you are planning to work on this spring and what you're most excited for. I wanted to mention I haven't made a video in a few weeks. I really try to upload a video usually every week or sometimes every other week, but I've just been doing some travel. My wedding has been coming up, so wedding planning has been a bit crazy, and so I just had to take a little bit of a break. I've still been knitting a lot, but I just haven't had that much time to dedicate to filming and editing a video, so I hope that you enjoy this video today. Before we dive in, I'll just mention the sweater I'm wearing now. This is the Wishbone sweater by Veronica Lindbergh, or Kutovakika. So it is this all over Wishbone cable sweater. I knit it in Drops Daisy and Drops Kid Silk in the color, I think, light nougat and light beige, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites to wear. I don't think I've worn it in a video before, and if you go back to some of my earlier podcasts, you'll see this in the thumbnail, and I talk about it in more detail there. And also, before I get into my spring plans, I wanted to take a moment to just do a little bit of like a winter knitting plans recap. I am really happy with the extent to which I stayed pretty true to my winter knitting plans. I got a lot done, even more than I had planned to. So I have most of my projects here to show. The first thing that I had planned to work on was my caramel sweater, which was a work in progress. I just needed, I think, to finish the sleeves. I had like the whole body done, and I have finished this, and it's so beautiful. I really love it. Very happy with that. I also had maybe started the Arundel pullover and wanted to finish it. This is a test knit I was working on for Ellis Knitwear. Also finished this one, and the pattern is now released. This was such a fun colorwork project. All of these I talked about in my winter knitting plans video, and I've talked about in podcasts as well, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I also knit the Cinema sweater by Veronica Lindbergh, or Kutovakika, again, one of my favorite designers, and I knit this in black just to have a plain kind of cozy black sweater. Absolutely been loving that one, so easy to just like throw on at home or going out. One change that I did make was I was planning to make the Wood Anemone pullover by Sari Nordland, and I decided to do the Poetria pullover instead. So instead of a lace yoke, this is a lace body. And I just finished this one quite recently. I think I talked about it in my last podcast, number 6. And yeah, I absolutely love this one, and I've already started wearing it. And then my most recent completed objects is my mosaic sweater by Pernille Larsen of Knitting for Olive. So I have not talked about this finished object in a podcast yet, but I'll talk about it in my next one. This is like fresh off the blocking mats. So it's this beautiful kind of graphic colorwork sweater. That was pretty quick to work up. Like I said, I'll give more detail in the podcast. But yeah, I think those were all of the projects that I had planned, that I talked about in my winter knitting plans video. And I really stuck to that. I'm very proud of myself. I made a few additional projects as well. I made this like kind of adapted version of the Sadie top by Woozy by Celine. It's like much less oversized with like shorter sleeves, more cropped. I think it's really cute, and I am excited to wear this in the spring. And then I also made the Clotilde sweater baby by Pernille Larsen. So cute. This one was really quick, and I will be gifting it to someone in a couple of weeks. I also made a baby bear bonnet by Pernille Larsen and already gifted that to a friend whose baby's due in a couple weeks. And then I also started, where is it? Here it is. I guess now this gets us into the spring knitting plans, because I also started a few items that are now works in progress and that will now go into my spring knitting plans. So the first one is the Euterpe socks, or Euterpe socks by Sari Nordland. This is a pattern from her book Softly Timeless Knits, and I've been talking about this project on the podcast. I'm not a big sock knitter, so this was a good opportunity to kind of challenge myself. This is, I think, the first pair of socks that I hopefully will finish, and this is the first single sock that I have finished. It's obviously unblocked. It has this beautiful cable motif and then a different one on the back. It has a slip stitch heel. And I'm using the yarn Malabrigo Ultimate Sock in the color Pearl. I finished the first one, I'm working on the second one, and I should get back to this ASAP because we're getting towards the end of our cold weather here in New York City. The sock comes in 3 sizes of 8, 8.75, and 9.25 inch foot circumference, and I'm doing the medium size. So I think this is the first project that I really want to get back to and focus on in my spring knitting so that I can get these blocked, get these ready to wear, and hopefully my partner can get some wear out of them before it gets too warm. The next thing, this is like my longest standing work in progress. If you've been here since the beginning, you probably are familiar with this item. This is the Mulitas dress by Inez Oliveira, and I really just lost steam on this one, but my motivation is back now that we're getting close to warm weather when I would be able to wear this. So this is a dress that is knit up on 3mm needles. I'm using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color Plum Rose. The sizing ranges from 31 to 51 inch bust, but there also are instructions if you need to alter that if your measurement's not included. And the dress is kind of tailored to fit 4 measurements at your bust, your waist, your high hip, and your low hip. So I think that is really awesome, and I'm hoping that this will be a really beautiful fit. You'll see I've almost gotten down to the bottom. I'm making it like a mid-calf length, so I feel like it certainly should be realistic to finish this up. It just is a bit of a slog. Just need to finish the length and then add the edging and buttons. I actually don't have buttons for this, so I need to look into that. But yeah, this is definitely one that I want to work on this season. And then another one that I have a bit of a time constraint on is the Concha top by Caledonia Dreamin'. So I'm planning to wear this for one of my wedding events, which is coming up in a couple months. I wanted to start on it pretty early so I don't feel rushed. I got it started a couple weeks ago and definitely will be continuing to work on it this spring. It is worsted weight, knit up on 4mm needles, which is kind of a dense gauge. The recommended yarn is 100% linen. I'm using Illimani Sabri, which is 85% cotton, 15% baby alpaca, and this is the color Bone. So it's this beautiful off-white. It's very soft, but the fabric is a little stiff, I think because of the dense gauge. So once it's done, I will see if I want to block it. I just have to be very careful not to stretch it out due to the fiber content. And the design is knit bottom up, which is a bit annoying. I was thinking of flipping the instructions to make it top down, but just with the way they're written out, I think that would have been pretty annoying. So I'm going with bottom up. I have put it on a cord and tried it on. And I do like it, and the fabric I think looks better on. The stiffness isn't as problematic that way. So I have been feeling a bit ambivalent about this because it is for one of my wedding events and I want to be really, pleased with the result. But I'd been considering a few different patterns, and I just always came back to this one because I love this slip stitch kind of stripe motif. I think it's subtle but very feminine and elegant. So I'm excited about this one. Whenever I get dubious, I try it on and I feel more confident again. So I am gonna continue chugging away at this one. I'm making, I think, decent progress on the body. I'm, I think, a little more than halfway done with the recommended length there, so that's exciting. And the size range fits a bust of 28 to 62 inches with neutral ease recommended, so quite a wide range there. And I am making, I think, a size 2. So yeah, I'm excited. When I look at it, I do love this slip stitch motif. And then I have actually a couple more works in progress that I'll be bringing in from kind of the end of the winter into the spring. So yeah, obviously, even though I haven't been making videos, I've been doing a lot of knitting, which is nice. I think I had maybe talked about this in my last podcast. This is the Ingrid sweater by Louise Fredrickson. So I know there's a pretty famous Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit. This is a totally different, unrelated pattern. So this is a top-down circular yoke design in 2-color brioche, and it has this really cool leaf motif. I am knitting it on 6.5mm needles. It's recommended on 7mm. Using bulky yarn. I'm making it as a gift for my mom. She actually saw me mention this pattern in my, I think, one of my fall knitting inspiration, pattern inspiration videos. and she wanted it in cotton because she's sensitive to animal fibers but still wanted a natural fiber. And I think the cotton will be nice because it's breathable. It can be layered for cooler weather, but also is more forgiving in like slightly warm weather as well. So I'm using KnitPicks Dishy in the colors Swan and Black with 2 strands held together. And the sizing of this pattern is quite limited. The finished bust is 39 to 42.5 inches across 3 sizes, so it's not graded. I think the designer just like alters it by a couple of stitches to slightly change the sizing, but I'm making the largest size. And yeah, it's really cool. It's turning out well. At this point, I have split 4 sleeves, and I decided to start on one of the sleeves here. So it's pretty fun. I enjoy 2-color brioche. I've had the opportunity now to work on it for a couple of patterns, and you know, the yoke of this was so fun and addicting. I just kept wanting to do another round because this leaf pattern is really interesting. And now I'm in a bit of a slog with the sleeves. I will finish up the sleeves and then just knit down the body with however much yarn I have remaining because my mom likes a nice long sweater. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I am going to alter the sleeves rather than, what is it called, where they kind of come in tightly at the end, like a bishop sleeve or something like that. I'm just going to do a straight sleeve and then probably end it with an I-cord. So yeah, I will continue chugging away at this one as well, but the socks and the wedding top are probably higher priorities, maybe then this one, then the Miletus dress. I realized I forgot to mention one of my projects, so I'm just quickly hopping back in to discuss that. This is another work in progress I referenced in one of my previous podcasts. This is the Cognac sweater by Atelier Castine, and this is, I think I just said, a work in progress, so something I'll be carrying into my spring knitting plans. It is pretty far along. I'm using a hand-dyed yarn from the dyer Wool in the Trees in the color Hemlock, and this is their merino mohair, or mohair merino base, which is I think like 53% merino, 47% mohair, something like that, in a single strand, which is really cool. So this is a fingering weight yarn. The pattern calls for, I think, a fingering weight plus a lace weight on 6mm needles, so a very open gauge. I did some swatching, and I'm doing this as part of a knit along. I'm doing this on 4mm needles, so quite different, but it's still a pretty open gauge, just a little bit. And I'm sizing up, some gauge math. But I finished the body, and it has options for I-cord or 2x2, or sorry, I-cord or twisted rib hem, and I'm doing twisted rib. And I finished the first sleeve as well, and I'm working on the second sleeve. So I hopefully will be finishing this up soon. The knit along goes until the end of March, but I think I'll finish it before then. And yeah, I'm very excited about this one, and I'm very excited to wear this in the spring. I think it'll be a lovely light sweater, lightweight sweater. So yeah, back to our regularly scheduled programming. And then I also started another project, which was a bit naughty of me, because obviously I have enough whips that I should be working on, but I just was itching to try something new, and I cast on the fluffy crop top by Lialike, which I talked about in my Make 9 video. And I'll go into more detail on this in my next podcast, but yeah, it's working up really quickly. I just started it, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. It is knit top down in brioche, using 2 strands of mohair held together on 4.5mm needles, so it's kind of an open gauge. I'm using La Bien Aimée mohair silk in the color Lys, and it is very soft and luxurious. I don't think I've used such a high quality mohair before, and I'm really enjoying it. And the size range of this top is also kind of limited. The finished bust ranges from 34 to 44 inches with 4 inches of positive ease recommended. And it turns out into, obviously, as you can see, this little tank top, which I think is really cute. So I'm very excited to have this kind of brightly colored item that I will probably wear kind of over a long sleeve shirt in the colder months, and then maybe I can wear it just over a little camisole, or maybe even alone in the warmer months. We'll have to see, but I mean, not in the heat of summer with the mohair, but yeah, I'll have to see how to style this. And in general, I'm curious if you would be interested in a video on how I style my knits, because I have seen some other videos on that and I find them really fun. So I'm thinking of doing that as kind of an upcoming video. But yeah, that gets us to the end of my works in progress that I'll be carrying over into the spring. And now I have a few more objects that I am planning to start once I've cast some of these off and finished them up. For some reason, I feel like I have a bit more trouble estimating what I can work on in the spring and summer versus in the winter, because for me, on average, a sweater that has, color work or texture, whatever it is, takes like about a month. So I know better how to like estimate that and estimate how much I can get done. Although I feel like in the fall and winter I was more prolific than that. So maybe that's a bigger, like, an issue, is that I'm just becoming faster at knitting and I need to adapt overall. But yeah, I'm not sure how much time I'll have left. So I have a few more projects that I have the yarn for, that I have planned, and then also some inspiration, and we'll kind of see where I get with that. So I think the next project I would want to cast on after I finish a couple of these is the Feels Right tee by Lily Kate France. I think I've talked about this project plan before, but this will be knit up on 3.25 millimeter needles with fingering weight yarn. It's worked top down with set-in sleeves and short rows to shape the sleeve caps, and the size range fits a bust of 28 to 62 inches with neutral ease recommended. So I'll be using the Wandering Flock fingering singles in the color Mystic Violet, such a beautiful kind of variegated color. And I'm very excited for this one. It'll be a fun, kind of simple stockinette project, but with some interesting shaping. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we're seeing I have a lot of fun color. I feel like my winter knits were pretty neutral except for the caramel sweater, and then we're moving into a pretty bright selection. The next project, I don't know chronologically, but the next one I'm thinking about is the Ilana camisole by Masha Ziablikova. And I find this pattern so cute. I'm really excited to get started, although I'm nervous that the cables will be a little tedious, but I think the end product will be worth it. Sorry if you can hear the honking, New York City things. So this top is knit top down on 3 millimeter needles with fingering weight yarn again. So a lot of fingering weight projects coming up, but I think that's okay. It's kind of the nature of summer knits. I'm planning to make this little camisole in the Neighborhood Fiber Co's Organic Rustic Fingering in the color Ednor Gardens, which I got at Rhinebeck, and I've just been saving it for a special project. I think it's so beautiful, and I'm so excited to start this cami, but definitely can't start it until I finish a couple of my whips. The size ranges fit a bust of 31 to 48 inches with 3 to 5 inches of negative ease recommended. So I'm very excited there. If you have been watching since the beginning, some of my earlier videos, I was talking about some whips that I was finishing up last summer, and I learned then that I can feel pretty comfortable wearing like 100% merino in the warm months, as long as it doesn't cover too much of my body. So I have a few tank tops that I've knit in like Knitting for Olive, and I'm excited to see how things go with these fingering singles as well. Next up, we have a sweater. I think I probably will need a break from the 3 millimeter needle life. So I also have on my queue the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg, or Kutovakika. I know this pattern was really popular in the past year or so, including due to a knit along, and so I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it. I love, obviously, Kutovakika's patterns, so I'm excited to make it. I think it has really beachy vibes, so it kind of fits into the springtime theme in my mind. And I'm planning the recommended yarn is DK plus lace weight on 5 millimeter needles, but I'm planning to use a single strand of KnitPicks Wool of the Andes worsted in the color Blossom Heather, which is this beautiful kind of peachy pink color. The sweater is knit top down with a drop shoulder, and it has obviously these really cool textural elements. I have seen a lot of issues about the sleeves being too small, so I'll probably size up for the sleeves compared to the body. And the finished bust circumference ranges from 40 to 79 inches with 6 to 8 inches of positive ease recommended. So I'm really excited. This looks like a really fun, textural sweater to make. So now we're getting into a couple of like potential projects. Those are all the ones that I feel pretty confident I can tackle those and finish those in the spring. And maybe that's a little ambitious, but feeling pretty good about that. And then I even have a couple more projects that I'm really thinking about that I have the yarn for. So the next one I'm thinking is the Lila top by Kadri. I just found this recently. I think it's so cute. It's just a simple sleeveless top knit top down with a square neck, like a high neck, and some simple like textured stripes. It's knit again on 3mm needles with fingering weight, 24 stitch gauge. I'm thinking of using the Wandering Flocks fingering singles in Terrace Bridge, which is this really pretty variegated color that has some kind of sky blue, some darker blue, and then some white, and then almost this like lavender color. I don't know if you can see on camera. I think this is so beautiful, but I am thinking maybe I just want to do something plain stockinette to really show off this yarn. I'm not quite sure. If I do decide to use that yarn for a different project, I might use this Knitting for Olive merino in Pink Daisies. So we'll see there, a couple different options. And the finished bust ranges from 29.5 to 54 inches with neutral ease recommended. I think that would be a really cute like basic top, but with some visual interest from those stripes. I also am thinking about making another Sadie top by Woozy by Celine, this one in white. So obviously I made this blush kind of adapted smaller one, but I'm thinking of making like a standard oversized white one for one of my wedding events. And this pattern calls for a lace weight yarn held single on 6.5mm needles to create a very open and ethereal fabric. I think it'd be really elegant and romantic. And it's also really quick to work up because it's such an open gauge. So the finished bust ranges from 39.5 to 61 inches with 6 to 8 inches of positive ease recommended. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind, and I think I could kind of whip that up in a couple of weeks if I do decide to go with that. So we'll see what happens there. But in general, I would definitely recommend this as a really fun spring pattern. I think it'd be really cute to wear on a slightly cooler spring day, or kind of have, it's quite compact, so you could have it to throw on like in the evening when it gets cooler. And I just think it is so beautiful and elegant. So now we're getting into some projects that I almost certainly won't have the time to do. I don't necessarily have yarn for these yet, but I just wanted to add some more inspiration for anyone watching. Maybe some of these projects don't fit with your style, or you have already done them, or you don't have the yarn for them, or whatever it is. So I'm just going to throw a few more ideas out there that I would love to do in the future, maybe just not this year. We have a few sweaters, a couple dresses, some tank tops, and I think a shawl as well. So let's dive in. The first project that I'm thinking of here, first pattern, is called the Fine Cable Sweater by Rita Koch Knitwear. And this is a kind of lightweight sweater, so I thought it would be nice for spring. It has a slight mock neck, or like higher neck, and a drop shoulder, and it's knit top down with very subtle cable texture. The finished bust ranges from 29.5 to 47 inches with 5 to 7 inches of positive ease recommended. And it's knit on 3.5mm needles with fingering plus lace weight yarn at a 27 stitch gauge. So it's quite fine and delicate for a sweater. I think it's almost somewhere between like a sweater and a blouse, I would say. I just think it's so beautiful, such an elegant, kind of feminine cable design. And it might be a little bit of a beast to work up. I think it might get a bit tedious, but it's such a beautiful end result, and hopefully it would be fun to work on as well. Another light sweater I wanted to mention is the Michaela sweater by Marika Knit, and this one is worked with 2 lace weight strands held together, so it would create kind of like a breezy, drapey fabric. It's worked top down with a round neck, drop shoulder, and kind of a slouchy fit with these open sleeves. It's knit mostly on 5mm needles, so again, quite an open gauge, and I think would knit up pretty quickly. And the finished bust ranges from 40.5 to 55 inches with around 8 inches of positive ease recommended. So I think this would be such a beautiful one, and again, I think is a nice spring or transitional piece because it provides some warmth, but it's not like a heavy, cozy sweater. And I would absolutely love to make this in the future. Obviously, I've been pretty into like mohair between this and the Sadie top, so definitely keeping this one in the back of my mind as well. I also wanted to mention the Tessa sweater by Irene Lynn Designs. This is a super cool cable design. I don't know how much of the construction details are specified, but it definitely is worked top down with a turtleneck or a folded collar. And then it looks like a circular yoke, and then a cable and texture pattern work that's worked starting around the end of the yoke. So I thought that was really unique and interesting, and it looks really cool. And it's worked mostly on 6mm needles with an Aran weight yarn or worsted plus lace, so I think it would work up pretty quickly. And the finished bust ranges from 48 to 66 inches with 0 to 16 inches of positive ease recommended. So you could obviously do this in a few different styles, more true to size or more oversized. However, because the sizing starts at 48 inches, that would require a much more oversized fit for someone with a smaller bust measurement. Like for me, I would have a minimum of 12 inches of positive ease, which actually isn't ideal. Like, I think it could be nice to have a slightly truer to size sweater here, but I still would definitely consider it. I think it is so beautiful, and I really love like that kind of unique aspect of the texture starting lower down on the sweater. Now we're gonna get into a couple of dresses. I had mentioned in my Make 9 video, I would love to make more knitted dresses just to like diversify how I can wear my hand knit items. Obviously I'm working on the Miletus dress and I need to put my energy into that, but here are a couple of dresses that maybe I'll come back to next year I wanted to share with you as well. So the first one is quite simple. It's the Atlantis dress by Maria Isayeva, and this is a ribbed dress with kind of a racerback neck shape, not a super dramatic one, but like that style. And it's worked top down on 4.5mm needles with a sport weight yarn. The designer actually recommends holding knitting for olive merino together with knitting for olive pure silk, so that's kind of interesting. And it has neutral ease with finished bust measurements ranging from 29.5 to 51 inches. I obviously haven't seen the pattern itself. I don't know if there's waist shaping or kind of what that situation is, but I do imagine if I knit this, I would probably incorporate waist shaping and do some math to have like a different top size and bottom size in order to fit my body shape better. I'm not sure if the designer gives any instructions or insight about that. But that's just something I'm thinking about. I don't know for anyone else if they run into this problem, but I have like very different measurements on my top versus my bottom, so dresses can be a little tricky in that regard. And now that I feel more confident with adapting patterns, doing some of that math, I think I would feel more comfortable going into a dress pattern and making it fit my body shape. I also wanted to mention this other dress called the Vala dress by Inrum. And this is such a beautiful, kind of skimpy scoop neck dress. I think it would be perfect for summer because it looks very like breathable and not too warm. It has kind of this all over textured pattern that apparently just uses knit and purl stitches, and it's worked top down on 3mm needles with a light fingering weight yarn, potentially like a silk yarn. And the finished bust ranges from 29.5 to 45.5 inches. So this is one where I don't know that much about the textured pattern, so it could be like really fun to do for the whole dress, but it also could be tedious. But I just think the dress is so beautiful, and this might be another one like the Miletus dress that I would tackle in the future and just kind of like chip away at over time. Now we're getting into a few tops and tanks. So first one, I really want to work on this in the future. I've been thinking about it for months, but I just always have kind of other things that take the spots in my queue. But this is the Anjou tank by Skeinny Dippin. And I just think this top looks so cool. It features this kind of textured colorwork pattern that's created using slip stitches, and the top has I-cord edging. There's instructions for bottom up or top down construction, and the designer specifies that apparently the bottom up construction is easier in some way. Top down is like more advanced, but I think I would prefer to do top down just because I like being able to decide like where the top ends. And the designer recommends DK weight yarn on 3.75mm needles with a 27 stitch gauge, and the finished bust circumference ranges from 30 to 64 inches. So to be honest, I'm mentioning this now, but I think this might be one of my projects that I put on my queue for my summer knits, so you might see it again in my summer planning video as well. There's just something about it that I think is so fun, so cute, and I would definitely love to make it. I do not know what colors I'll use. That will be a whole other contemplation, but yeah, I just wanted to put it out there in case anyone wants to get it started in the spring. This is another project now that I want to talk about that I also could see myself working on maybe this summer. It's called the Rimu Rimu tee by Yamagara. And this is a beautiful all over lace tee with a keyhole detail at the back of the neck It's worked top down, and it calls for a light fingering weight on 3 to 3.5 millimeter needles. The finished bust ranges from 33 to 66 inches. And I just think this is so beautiful, like such a lovely, elegant pattern, and I think it would be really fun to knit up. So I would love to work on this in the future. Next up, we have the Cecile top by Suzanne Mueller. I might wind up making this one with the pink Knitting for Olive yarn. It's a really cool kind of wide rib v-neck tank that's worked top down on 3 millimeter needles with a fingering weight yarn, and the sizing fits a bust of 29 to 50 inches. So I think this one is just so classic and simple, but with a bit of visual interest from those wide rib stripes. So I'm definitely keeping this one in my mind as well. And then another one, honestly, I don't know if this is my personal style, but I just think it's so cool. I wanted to mention it. It's called the Twister Tank by Juicy Loose. And this is a really cool tank top with these kind of cable columns in a spiral design. It's knit on 4 millimeter needles with a DK weight yarn, and the sizing ranges from 28 to 54 inches. Finally, I wanted to mention a shawl by Pufido Knits, one of my favorite knitwear designers. This is the Airbender shawl. It's a relatively new pattern, just came out a couple months ago, and it's this beautiful textured shawl with 4 different stitch patterns or sections, and it's one size. The dimensions are a 54-inch straight edge, 66.5-inch sloped edge, and 44-inch bind-off edge. It's knit on 3.5 millimeter needles with 2 different yarns that are each, I think, held single. So one of them is a fingering weight, like wool or something similar, and then one of them is a lace weight, like mohair, alpaca silk, something like that. So you can use the same color like in the sample, but you can also use different colors to create a cool contrast, which I saw in some of the projects on Ravelry. So I don't know if I'll actually knit this because I'm not a big shawl person, but I just think it's so beautiful. I wanted to highlight it, and maybe at some point in the future I'll make a version. Maybe I'll adapt to make like a smaller version that fits with my personal style better. I don't know, but I just thought it was so pretty. I couldn't help but mention it. So yeah, that is everything I have to share with you today. Again, I would love to hear in the comments what you're planning to knit this spring or what you're most excited about. And also I'd love to hear your thoughts on my project plans and project inspiration. So I hope you enjoyed watching and got some inspiration from it. And I'll plan to see you in my next video. Bye.